Hello guys, this is Yogen from FOSC. So guys, in today's conversation, we have Ankur with us. And Ankur is currently working as a director of product marketing with Collibra. And he's working from San Francisco Bay Area. And guys, Ankur is a BTech graduate from IIT Delhi and MBA in strategy, marketing, leadership and ethics from Cornell Johnson Graduate School of Management. And the good part is that I know Ankur from IIT Delhi days when he was with my younger brother. And we have a quite old connect. And thank you, Ankur, for taking time to connect with us and, coming for this conversation. We welcome you.
Thank you again for the opportunity. I'm really excited to, have a conversation, and hopefully this is helpful for your students.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And Ankur, one more thing, mostly we'll keep the conversation in mix of Hindi and English because I know you were active member of Samiti at IIT Delhi.
Yeah. हिंदी मेरी बहुत प्यारी है मुझे यार, बिल्कुल.
हाँ, मैं समझ सकता हूँ when I talk to you. So अंकुर थोड़ा सा अपने बारे में अपना बैकग्राउंड और जर्नी थोड़ा शेयर कीजिए हमारे साथ.
बिल्कुल योगेंद्र. सो जैसा आपने बोला कि जो मेरी सबसे फर्स्ट डिग्री है इंजीनियरिंग में थी, बायोकेमिकल इंजीनियरिंग बायोटेक्नोलॉजी मैंने ग्रेजुएट किया आईआईटी दिल्ली से 2004 में. एंड उसके बाद आई विल से प्राइमरली मेरा करियर जो शुरू के 4-5 साल थे वो डेटा एनालिटिक्स, रिसर्च, मार्केट रिसर्च उसमें मैं था हमेशा. और उसके बाद मुझे लगा कि अब कुछ सैचुरेशन आ रहा है या फिर कुछ नया एक्सप्लोर करना है, तो मैंने जीमेट लिखा. फिर मैं जीमेट देके यूएस आया 2012 में, MBA किया. सो आई थिंक वहां पे करके सरप्राइजिंगली मैंने मार्केटिंग के कोर्सेज काफी एंजॉय किए.
अच्छा.
और मैं उसको कनेक्ट नहीं कर पा रहा था बिकॉज मैं बहुत ही इंट्रोवर्ट और शाई बंदा हूँ, या एटलीस्ट मेरी अपने लिए वो लिसनिंग है. लेकिन मैंने फिर महसूस किया कि शायद अंदर से मैं एक टीचर हूँ, मुझे टीचिंग करने में मजा आता है, या फिर ये कहो कि कॉम्प्लेक्स कॉन्सेप्ट्स को एंटरटेनिंग बनाने में मजा आता है, इंस्पायरिंग बनाने में मजा आता है. तो आई थिंक दैट वाज द लिंक. मुझे लगता है कि मैंने इसलिए मार्केटिंग में करियर ट्राई किया और मैं उसको एंजॉय करने लगा. और आज मैं एस्पायर करता हूँ एक CMO बनने के लिए, चीफ मार्केटिंग ऑफिसर इन अ B2B SaaS कंपनी, लेट्स से नेक्स्ट 4 years 5 years. So that comes from there. So उसके बाद एक्चुअली मैं MBA के बाद मैंने याहू ज्वाइन किया. याहू में मैं 1.5 साल के लिए था एज अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर. But again, as I said, I couldn't see myself growing as a product leader. It was not my cup of tea maybe. But yeah, I think it was definitely a good experience. Now, if I look back, I can connect the dots, and I'm grateful for that. It happened to me. उसके बाद मैंने एक स्टार्टअप ज्वाइन की, क्रक्स. और फिर उसके बाद मैं स्टार्टअप वर्ल्ड में आया और मैंने वाकई स्टार्टअप वर्ल्ड को एंजॉय करना शुरू किया. आई थिंक उसके कुछ कारण शायद यही थे कि एक तो सीधे सीनियर लीडरशिप के साथ काम करने का मौका मिलना, विजिबिलिटी होना. आप जो भी चीज करते हो यू कैन नॉट हाइड एनीवेयर, आपकी फुल अकाउंटेबिलिटी होती है और आप चीजों को इम्पैक्ट कर रहे होते हो. और स्ट्रेचिंग होती है. लाइक मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ कि याहू में जो मैंने 1 साल में सीखा वो मैं 1 हफ्ते में सीखता था या सीखता हूँ स्टार्टअप में. इस तरह का इंटेंस माहौल होता है. So I think वो बहुत फुलफिलिंग होता है, क्योंकि जब सीखने की हम बात करते हैं तो अपने को अंदर से भी इवॉल्व करना होता है. सो आई थिंक वो चीज बहुत अच्छी लगती है. सो उसके बाद मैं रेल्टियो में था, प्रोडक्ट मार्केटिंग मैनेजर फॉर 3.5 years. रेल्टियो इज बेसिकली इन मास्टर डेटा मैनेजमेंट स्पेस, यदि आपने सुना हो उसके बारे में. सो वहाँ पे आई थिंक मेरे को अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली मार्केटिंग का हर एस्पेक्ट टच करने की, क्योंकि बहुत छोटी टीम थी.
They have some India Connect रेल्टियो के साथ.
इंडिया कनेक्ट, यस, बैंगलोर में उनका प्रॉपर ऑफिस है. आई थिंक 50-60 लोग हैं. सो वहाँ पे अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस रहा. उसके बाद अभी कोलिब्रा में अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली, यहाँ पे 2 साल हो गए. एंड आई थिंक currently my role is to lead the GTM or go to market for their data quality and observability product. And also overall their platform, they call it data intelligence platform. And also additionally I'll take up their value assessment tools like TCO calculator, solution finder, all those interactive tools I'm accountable for. So yes, I think here I am.
Yeah, great journey, Ankur, and we wish you to become, CMO one day. So, okay, so 2-3 चीजें तो हमने कही. एक तो डेटा इंटेलिजेंस और डेटा क्वालिटी. तो as a engineer, I'm also into analytics, right? And we also work a lot with companies regarding the consultation. But मैं तुम्हारे point of view से समझना चाहता हूँ अंकुर इस चीज को कि डेटा इंटेलिजेंस का क्या मतलब है किसी भी बिजनेस के लिए, या डेटा क्वालिटी का क्या मतलब है किसी भी बिजनेस के लिए.
राइट. सो आई थिंक डेटा इंटेलिजेंस को हम ऐसे देख सकते हैं, क्योंकि बिजनेस इंटेलिजेंस एक ऐसा टर्म है जो काफी पॉपुलर इंडस्ट्री में, कई बार हम उसको कंफ्यूज कर देते हैं डेटा इंटेलिजेंस से. So I think as business intelligence is, it is intelligence about business, so that you can make those decisions. But data intelligence is about intelligence about your data. Okay. So let's say आज की वर्ल्ड में क्या होता है, एक लार्ज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, मिड साइज, जो उसमें हर इंसान किसी ना किसी फेज में डेटा को टच कर रहा होता है, चाहे वो मार्केटिंग में हो, चाहे फाइनेंस में हो, चाहे सेल्स में हो, चाहे प्रोडक्ट में हो, वो डिसीजंस लेने के लिए डेटा की हेल्प लेता है. सो अल्टीमेटली यदि राइट डेटा राइट यूजर को राइट टाइम पे मिल जाता है इन अ कंप्लायंट मैनर, so that is data intelligence. So basically data intelligence platform helps the right person to find the right data at the right time, let's say. So it's like you can think of it as a Google, internal Google. So you can, let's say, if someone wants to do churn analysis from business analysts, so they go to a search bar and type churn, and the system recommends them, what data assets they can use, and what's the rating of those, what's the quality of those. So things like that. So essentially, and whatever, and all these usage data and everything is captured like as a metadata, so that you can further enhance that intelligence in future. So I think if I can simplify that, it's about finding the data, discovering the data, so that you can be more productive in your day-to-day job. Yeah. So that is data intelligence.
So while going through your profile, मैंने एक और चीज वहां पे देख रहा था जो मेरे लिए भी थोड़ी सी नई थी, अंकुर. डेटा कैटलॉग प्रोडक्ट. So वो क्या चीज है, उसके बारे में थोड़ा हम बताएं.
Right, sure. So I think डेटा कैटलॉग का आप ऐसे देख सकते हैं, जैसे कैटलॉग हम किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में सुनते हैं, जैसे किसी शॉप पे जाते हैं तो उसके कैटलॉग होता है प्रोडक्ट का. या फिर लाइब्रेरी में जाते हैं तो कैटलॉग होता है, क्योंकि बहुत सारी बुक्स होती हैं, कहाँ पे कौन सी बुक मिलेगी, फिक्शन कैटेगरी है, बायोग्राफी है, सो कैसे उसको ढूंढें. सो आई थिंक इसी तरह से डेटा कैटलॉग यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि आपके इतने सारे होते हैं, मिलियंस ऑफ, लेट्स से थाउजेंड्स ऑफ, एक बड़े ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में मिलियंस ऑफ टेबल्स हो सकती हैं, अलग अलग तरह का वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ डेटा हो सकता है. सो बेसिकली इट्स लाइक यू कैन लुक एट इट इन अ वे दैट यू शोकेस द डेटा in the shelf, in a way like with proper tagging. Okay, this data is for this purpose, this is for that purpose, so that you can find it quickly when you need it. So basically cataloging data, let's say classifying data. Okay. So essentially, everywhere you want to apply, let's say machine learning or AI to automate that to whatever extent you can. Okay. But essentially data catalog is about, I'll say, data discovery. Okay. And it's a big category in the data management space these days. And of course, data governance, data quality, everything come together. So that's how we define it. Like data intelligence is the ultimate goal, but all these products come together to enable the data discovery in a compliant manner. So if I can put it that way.
Good. So generally, when I talk with the point of view of a data scientist or a machine learning engineer, or as an analyst as well, जनरली इस तरीके की कैटेगरी के जो टीम मेंबर्स होते हैं किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, they mostly deal with a data which is already clean, already in a kind of a required format, right? But as a business, you hardly get a access on the day one to a clean data, right? Mostly you deal with the raw data or a data which is not in the right format. तो क्या data intelligence या data management में इन चीजों का भी कंसर्न आप लोग रहते हैं, that what is the kind of quality of the data that you are dealing with and how to bring a more intelligence out of it? तो वो चीज like do you see as a, may not be in your team because you are into the marketing, but like बाकी टीम्स के साथ definitely काम करते होंगे, तो वहां पे ये कंसर्न रहता है कि कैसे इसको मैनेज किया जाए?
राइट, एग्जैक्टली. सो आई थिंक इसको हम ऐसे भी देख सकते हैं कि किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में दो तरह के मेन डेटा यूजर्स होते हैं. एक तो होते हैं डेटा क्यूरेटर्स, डेटा प्रोड्यूसर्स, लेट्स से डेटा आर्किटेक्ट्स, डेटा इंजीनियर्स, डेटा स्टीवर्ड्स, व्हिच आर मोर ऑन द टेक्निकल साइड. So of course they are also consuming data. So let's say data engineer also wants to find data to build their data pipelines, but ultimately their goal is to curate the data so that that can be consumed by data consumers, let's say business analysts or data scientists, or maybe someone who is not very good in analytics, but they need data for doing their day-to-day job. So I think, and again, when we see data quality, it's a very relative concept. For example, let's say data scientists could be okay with a 90% data quality because that's good enough, to do initial discovery or finding patterns or building models. But if it is a financial analyst sitting in a finance team, he wants 99% accuracy because it's the whole credibility of the organization matters. So I think so those are the kind of things like how you can bring the data producers at one end and data consumers at other end together so that they can collaborate and they can provide the data quality in the context of business. So I think that's important. So that's the idea, how you can enhance that collaboration between those two groups, because input has to come from the business user also, because they know how is that data being used in the business context, and data producers know, okay, what's the right data infrastructure, what's the what right way to store data, process data, so they have less visibility into business. But again, those things have to connect. So I think you can look at, yes, unless that happens, data intelligence doesn't happen, data quality doesn't happen.
Okay, good.
Hmm.
So, Ankur, nowadays almost everywhere, even in India, and now you are in US, so in US as well, a lot of data is being generated by businesses, or even the personal uses is also generating a lot of data every day,
Hmm.
right? So now coming to the culture of data governance, right? तो अगर मैं business के perspective में बात करूं, so do you see any difference the companies in India, take data governance as a culture versus companies in US, or maybe in European countries as well? So किस level का maturity उनका है in terms of culture for data governance?
Yeah. So I can share my perspective. So I think एक चीज मुझे लगती है कि इसको हम यहाँ से शुरू कर सकते हैं. एक तो होता है offensive use cases of data. जैसे कि आप डेटा को यूज करना चाहते हैं मार्केट को सेगमेंट करने के लिए, कस्टमर्स के एक्सपीरियंस को पर्सनलाइज करने के लिए. बट एक साइड होती है डिफेंसिव यूज केसेस. सो डिफेंसिव यूज केसेस लाइक यू वांट टू प्रोटेक्ट योर डेटा, यू वांट टू बी कंप्लायंट. सो यू कैन आल्सो लुक एट अ सॉकर गेम. इन सॉकर गेम यू नीड टू हैव स्ट्रांग ऑफेंस एंड स्ट्रांग डिफेंस टू विन द गेम. सो ऐसे ही डेटा के वर्ल्ड में इफ यू रियली वांट टू बी डेटा ड्रिवन, यू वांट टू हैव स्ट्रांग ऑफेंस एंड स्ट्रांग डिफेंस. सो मुझे लगता है कि कुछ इंडस्ट्रीज होती हैं जैसे हेल्थ केयर, फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज, वहां पे रेगुलेशंस बहुत ज्यादा होते हैं. और यदि रेगुलेशन आप मीट नहीं करते हो तो उसकी कॉस्ट भी बहुत ज्यादा होती है, पेनल्टी ज्यादा होती है. तो उन इंडस्ट्रीज में क्या होता है, दे वांट टू टेक केयर ऑफ डिफेंस फर्स्ट, लाइक दे आर वेरी प्रोटेक्टिव. ओके, it's segmentation, personalization is the second preference, but they want to take care of that first. And then there are industries like retail and CPG, consumer goods, which they are more keen on segmentation, personalization. But again, because of all these regulations like GDPR, CCPA in California, now Brazil has its regulation. I learned recently India is also coming up with its new data regulation or data privacy policy. So I think it's a very good thing actually. So I think what's happening is as data becomes, let's say, very critical in not even just for growing the business, but even surviving the business, especially in this post-pandemic world, it becomes very critical that first you take care of its defense part. And that's where I think the governance comes primarily, because governance essentially means that you want to be complied with all the internal data policies, like which data should be used with which group within the business, or maybe if you're using some third-party data, what are the rules around sharing that data, processing that data, all those things. So I think in India, let's say with that regulation now, and also as businesses become more and more data-driven to stay competitive in the marketplace, they will adopt tools like data governance, data intelligence more proactively. So, right.
Okay, got it. Ankur. Now, a question specific to India. So, like talking about the Indian youth, there are a lot of aspiring candidates. We reach out to, and even they reach out to us as well in a couple of cases. So, how the people who are recently graduating, particularly from tech, background, so how can they take the advantage of this, rising data-driven culture, right? So how come they can become a kind of a good, resources or candidates for, hiring by these companies who are into, data management or, data governance. So how they can, kind of align their efforts toward this?
Right, definitely. So I can share my perspective. So I think one thing what's happening very much, I think one realization is what's important is that in terms of what data would mean, let's say 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line for the business world. I think that is important. So like, when you want to build a career, you want to think long term. So I think that is first thing, that you realize that it's not going anywhere. With time, the complexity in data, let's say in terms of its volume, in terms of its variety, in terms of its speed, is only going to increase, because when data sources will multiply, and you will have to make sense of it to make strategic decisions. So I think in that sense, it's a very good development for all those people who aspire to be in this space, in data management space. And then let's say, then within that, there are various profiles on technical side. Let's say it's data architect, or currently we are hearing a lot about data engineers. And so I think first thing is really to educate yourself on that. So I can of course share some resources with you. Like one thing is data engineering podcast.
Okay.
There's a podcast on data engineering, and I learn a lot there. I typically spend a lot of time there on a weekly basis. So basically being aware of what it means for you. So sometime, so in data engineering, people come from different backgrounds. If they are in software engineering, and they say, because now for all the applications, software applications, data is becoming more and more important. So eventually, you want to take care of your data first. Like, you treat data as a first class thing, basically, not as something which you can handle later. It even comes before your applications. So I think other route could be, maybe you are a business analyst, you are on the consumer side, you start there. I mean, you start with the spreadsheet model and that thing. And then if you're curious about, I don't know what's happening at the back end, how all this data got connected, what's the data infrastructure. So I think if you're interested, then you can learn those aspects and then gradually get into it. And I think what's really interesting is that if you would have been hearing about the CDO, right? Chief Data Officer. It's becoming more and more prominent now. So maybe 15, 20 years before we had our first CDO, I guess I'm missing the name of the bank, but there was some bank, financial institution who had their first CDO. Now recently, PepsiCo, complete CPG company, had their first CDO. So I think it's clearly telling the trend that data is the something which has to be discussed in the C-suite room, in the executive boardroom, right? So I think that is a good development, because either you start as a data architect or data engineer or data scientist. So if you aspire to grow as a leader, make a wider impact, then you can look at CDO as that role. So.
Right. Oh, okay. So what I get from your perspective is that probably what opportunities right now we see, they are going to be even bigger, like 10x, 20x, and down the lane, right?
For sure.
And it is going to stay for long. That what you said,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. Good. So एक और चीज जो मैंने when I was kind of preparing that how I'm going to talk to you, so एक और चीज जो मुझे टर्म समझ में आया, डेटा रिस्क. So उसका क्या एक मतलब है, और how come this can be probably very much related to risk of your business as well, right? So वो कैसे होगा?
Right. So jahan tak meri knowledge, I think data risk has to do with the compliance and policies and all these things. Essentially, let's say there is a data, always data is some data policies, like with whom you can share that data, what you can do with that data, like what's the use case for that data, after how much time you should retire that data, for how long you can retain the data. So I think all those things. But I think when we say risk, so there are different kind of risk. One could be reputational damage. Let's say you would have heard about, let's say Facebook, or maybe a company Target, something happened in Target. I think Target is a big retailer in US. So I think they sent some personalized offer to a woman, who was expecting to be a mother.
Okay.
And because they had access to the data, but again, there was some damage around, like they breached the privacy. So that was the idea there, like they shouldn't have done that. So I think risk is on the reputation side, because it's huge reputational damage to your brand. Risk is on the financial side, because the fines are hefty. If the regulators are not happy with you, they can fine, like Facebook, is facing those kind of, things, and other organizations also, even Google has faced. So I think that's the data risk. And also within the organization, let's say it's a big organization, multinational global organization, it's very important, like what data is shared with what country and what group. You have to take care of all those components. Let's say it could be sensitive employee data, sensitive customer data. So things like that. So I think that's what we mean by data risk.
Okay. Now, how would you suggest, Ankur, that, as a fresh graduate from,
Mhm.
college here or maybe in US as well, so what can be the advice from your side for such candidates who want to become like you or want to, explore the path you have taken? So what would be your advice or suggestions for them?
Right. So I think I can share from my experience only. So I'm in product marketing, but I think let's say आपके लिए वो कुछ भी हो सकता है, right? कोई भी फील्ड हो सकती है, कोई भी फंक्शन हो सकता है. So एक चीज तो मुझे लगती है कि हमेशा self awareness. I think that really helps. And maybe कि वो eventually आती है, धीरे-धीरे एकदम से नहीं आती. So maybe you start somewhere, you see, okay, I'm liking it or I'm making an impact here or not, and then you make some iterations. For example, as I said, I was in data analytics side, I was in product management side for a while, but I couldn't see, I can grow here. And then, I was fortunate enough to try marketing, and I actually took a significant cut in my salary also to make that correction in my career because
Oh,
I thought, I want to try it, how, and I think I never regretted that decision because now, since I made that choice, I'm kind of growing in marketing and I'm making the right connections, learning new things every day. So I think that is one thing, like self-awareness, who you are at the core of you. And then, as I said, I'm a teacher, and teacher's job is to make complex, boring things entertaining and inspiring. And that's what a marketer also does. In B2B world, things get very complex. Data intelligence, data catalog is not something which you want to discuss with our kids, with our grandparents, right? But how you can make it so interesting. So I think that really helps. And then other thing, I think I see willingness to learn. I think constantly grow. I think that has helped me significantly. I think, in fact, I say that's my biggest asset. I may not be very intelligent. I may not be, knowing all the things, but I think what helps me every time is that just keep learning from people around you, and then anything can happen.
hmm. So, so तुम्हारा जो salary cut वाला जो point था उससे मुझे I can very well connect because we also
Yeah.
get a lot of requests from the working professionals that they want to learn and they want to get into this data science domain or this data management, right? And the first thing that we share with them that okay, we can help you out in this process, right? But there might be kind of cases where you might have to work like where you have a lower salary than what you are currently drawing in your role, right? And only if you are kind of okay with such things, right, later on you can recover all those whatever
Yeah.
you have gone. But in the beginning you have to like deal with it. So that is something we always talk to them whenever we enroll in our programs to
That makes
finally get
sense.
into data science. So I think if you have the interest, then you should go. That is again a risk, the calculated risk that you have
Right.
taken, and it worked well for you.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's good to know, Ankur.
Mhm.
uh, now, uh, now coming to kind of closer this, Ankur,
Yeah.
thank you very much for taking time and talking to us. जो तुम्हें इंटरव्यू पे लाने का जो मेरा एक जो नजरिया था वो ये था,
Mhm.
मोस्टली वी टॉक टू पीपल इन डेटा साइंस, जो डेटा साइंटिस्ट हैं,
Mhm.
एमएल इंजीनियर हैं, और वहाँ पे सिर्फ बात होती है कि मॉडल कैसे बनाएं, मॉडल का परफॉर्मेंस कैसे
Mhm.
इंप्रूव करें, ये कैसे करें. बट
Mhm.
मैं थोड़ा बताना चाहता हूँ लोगों को कि वो ही सिर्फ एक चीज नहीं है, इट्स बिगर देन दैट, राइट? इट्स अ
Right.
यहाँ पे डेटा मैनेजमेंट भी है, तुम्हारा कल्चर भी है, यू आल्सो सेड डेटा आर्किटेक्ट है, डेटा इंजीनियरिंग है, राइट, एनालिस्ट है, एंड देयर आर सो मेनी
Right.
रोल्स अवेलेबल इन दिस डोमेन. सो द
Right.
गुड थिंग इज दैट having a good awareness, you can connect that what is the role that you kind of look for or that is best suited for. और उस process में हो सकता है एक दो गलत decision हो, but you have to try with that,
Yeah.
and
Very
always
good
there is
point.
a chance to improve. If
Yeah.
something did not work for you in the Yahoo, you kind of
Yeah.
took the call that okay, I need to move on. So this is how it happens with everyone. So the primary reason was like to invite you and call you is was like दूसरा aspect भी लोगों को थोड़ा हम बता
Yeah.
पाएं कि भाई और भी चीजें हैं इस दुनिया में.
So true. I think
So
once you are associated with data, as you said, of course you can move anywhere. Any
right,
any job which has data in it. So it's just about how deep you want to get or how close you want to stay to business. So that's
So
it.
thank you, Ankur, once again, and best wishes from FOSC team.
Thank you again for having me here. I think it's a privilege. I think the way your organization has grown, it's really inspiring. I read your post on LinkedIn, and and the impact you are making with those children. Sorry, not your students. I think it's amazing. It's inspiring. So wish you all the very best.
We are trying, and we need a support of people like you.
Sure.
Thank you, Ankur, once again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.